Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Tobias, and this channel is where true feeling nightmares come to life. The stories you're about to hear sink in quietly, linger in your thoughts, and follow you into the dark long after the lights go out. Before we begin, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notifications button so you don't miss out on new stories every week. Now let's get comfortable, lower the lights, and let's get right into tonight's story. This one's going to be called I Bought Circus Tickets and Real People Were Sacrificed. I didn't even want to go. That's the honest part. If I hadn't agreed earlier in the week, half joking, half trying to be fun, I would have backed out the second I saw the line. It was one of those pop-up traveling circuses that sets up on the edge of town for a few nights, then disappears. Not a big arena thing with corporate branding. This was smaller, older looking, like it had been pulled straight out of a postcard from the 80s. A long row of trailers, a handful of faded flags snapping in the wind, a striped tent that looked too small to hold as many people as it promised. The billboard out by the road had a smiling clown on it, but the paint was sun-cracked and the smile didn't sit right. The words were bright, though. 1 week only, the Miracle Menagerie, a night you'll never forget. I remember rolling my eyes at that part like I always do. Every place says that. Every experience is unforgettable. I didn't realize how literal it was. My friend Kelsey was the one who pushed the idea. She'd seen a promo video in her feed. Lights, aerialist, a woman with fire in her hands, a tiger jumping through a ring that looked like it could swallow a person. She sent it to me with a million exclamation points like we were still 12 and not two adults with jobs and bills. I said yes because it felt harmless. We got there right before the evening show. Cold air, early winter smell. The parking lot was a muddy field with orange cones and a guy in a reflective vest waving glow sticks like traffic batons. People were stepping out of minivans and SUVs, families mostly, couples holding hands, teenagers taking selfies with the tent behind them. The whole scene was normal, enough that my unease didn't make sense, like my brain was searching for danger where there wasn't any. Still, I felt it. Not fear exactly, more like wrongness. The same feeling you get when you walk into a room and the conversation stops, when you notice someone watching you and you don't know why. We joined the line at the ticket booth. The booth was a little wooden shack with a slot window, hand-painted letters, and a string of warm bulbs that flickered like they were struggling to stay alive. A man behind the glass took cash or card. He didn't smile. He didn't do the normal friendly how many thing. He just stared through us like we were already part of the show. When Kelsey asked, 2 for 8 o'clock, he didn't answer. He slid 2 tickets through the slot and said flatly, "Keep them on you." Kelsey laughed like it was part of the vibe. "Like a wristband?" "On you," he repeated. His eye flicked in my face for a fraction of a second, then away. I remember the tickets were heavy. Not like modern glossy paper, more like thick cardstock. They smelled faintly like incense. The ink on them was raised, the way fancy invitations are. On the back was a symbol printed in black. A circle with 3 lines inside it, almost like a stylized eye. I showed Kelsey and she shrugged. Branding. We made our way towards the entrance. A narrow tunnel of canvas led into the tent. A couple of employees stood there checking tickets. They weren't dressed like normal ushers. They wore long coats even though it wasn't that cold yet, and their faces were strangely calm, like they weren't working a shift. They were participating in something. One of them took my ticket and ran his thumb over the symbol on the back like he was feeling the ink. Then he handed it back to me. Not ripped, not scanned, just returned. "Keep it," he said. Then quietly like an afterthought, "Don't lose it." We stepped inside the tent and the world changed instantly. The outside was cold and muddy and real. Inside was heat and light and smell. Popcorn, sugar, sweat, sawdust, something darker underneath like old fabric and animals. The air felt thick as if it had been trapped in there for days. Rows of seats circled the ring. Not stadium seats. Folded chairs, bleachers, benches. People were already seated, talking, laughing, pointing. The center ring was covered in fresh sawdust that looked too clean, almost staged. A spotlight cut through the air, catching floating dust like glitter. Music played low, a carnival melody that should have been cheerful. Somehow it wasn't. It sounded slowed down, stretched thin. Kelsey was thrilled. She kept filming little clips for her story, panning over the lights, the crowd. I followed behind her, trying to ignore the feeling crawling up my spine. We found seats halfway down, near the aisle, good view of the ring. The seats were close together, tight in a way that made you aware of everyone's bodies. People brushing shoulders, knees touching if you shifted wrong. A man came down the aisle with a tray of drinks, not sodas or beer, small cups of something dark. He offered them like samples. Complimentary, he said. Kelsey took one without thinking. Oh, free. I didn't. Something about it made my stomach turn. The smell was sweet and herbal, like cough syrup mixed with cloves. Come on, she said, nudging me. It's probably spiced cider. I'm good, I said. The man's eyes lingered on me longer than necessary. He didn't insist. He just moved on, offering cups to the people around us. Most of them took it. Some drank immediately. Others held it, smiling like they were part of a tradition. Kelsey sipped hers and made his face. Oh, wow, that's strong. Like alcohol? She shrugged. Not exactly. It's like, I don't know. It's warm. I watched her blink slowly as if her eyes were heavier. The music grew louder. Lights dimmed around the edges. A hush rolled through the crowd. Not all at once, but like a wave. The people stopped talking without being told. Their faces turned towards the ring. I looked around. It wasn't just attention. It was compliance, like everyone had been gently pushed into the same mental posture. A drum beat started, slow, steady. Boom, boom, boom. The lights in the tent flickered in time, and I felt something in my chest respond, like my heart wanted to match it. A man stepped into the ring. He wasn't dressed like a typical ringmaster. No bright coat, no top hat. He wore a long black suit that almost blended with the shadows. His hair was slicked back. His smile was perfect. Too perfect, like it had been practiced in a mirror until it could appear without effort. He opened his arms wide. Welcome, he said, and his voice somehow reached every corner without a microphone. Welcome to the Miracle Menagerie. The crowd clapped, not wild cheering, measured, almost rhythmic applause. Tonight, he continued, you will see wonders. Tonight, you will feel what you have forgotten how to feel. Tonight, you will remember what it means to be alive. The words made people murmur, nodding as if he'd said something profound. Kelsey leaned towards me. He's intense. The ringmaster, if that's what he was, lifted his hands, palm down. The clapping stopped instantly. Not gradually, instantly. That's when my mouth went dry. He smiled again. Before we begin, a gift. A line of performers came out carrying trays with more of those dark cups. They moved through the aisles like servers at a wedding. The crowd took them eagerly. I watched as a woman in front of me drank hers with one swallow, eyes closing as if she'd been blessed. One performer reached our row. She offered a cup to me. Up close, she looked wrong. Her skin was pale in a way that didn't match the warm lights. Her eyes were too glossy, like contact lenses, and she smiled the same perfect smile as the ringmaster, as if the smile was her smile but one she'd been taught. Complimentary, she whispered. No thanks, I said. Her smile didn't change. She held it out anyway. I'm okay, I repeated, firmer. Something flashed behind her eyes, then irritation, surprise. It was gone so fast I'd missed it, but her fingers tightened slightly around the cup. Kelsey nudged me. Just take it and pretend, she whispered, amused. It'll be rude. I don't want it, I said. The performer leaned closer, voice low enough only I could hear. You'll want it. Her breath smelled like the drink, sweet, bitter, herbal. I stared back, not blinking. After a long second, she straightened and moved on. Kelsey took another sip of hers and smiled lazily. You're paranoid. Maybe I was. I tried to sell myself that. It's a circus. They're doing a theme. They're selling an experience. Maybe it's some dumb ritual to make it feel special. The show began. At first, it was exactly what you'd expect. Acrobats swinging from silks, contortionists bending in ways that made the crowd gasp. Jugglers with flaming torches. It was impressive, genuinely. The performers were skilled. The lights were dramatic. The music was hypnotic. The word isn't an exaggeration. That word isn't an exaggeration. The drum beat from earlier returned beneath everything. A constant pulse. The ringmaster's voice threaded through it, narrating with a calm certainty that made you feel like you were watching something sacred, not entertainment. Breathe, he would say, and the crowd would collectively inhale. Watch, and heads would tilt in unison. The more the show went on, the stranger the crowd became. People stopped fidgeting, stopped whispering, their faces smoothed out, smiles fixed. Their eyes looked glassy. They clap when they were supposed to, laugh when a clown made a joke, gasp when a stunt hit its peak, like hues were being pulled inside them. I kept looking at Kelsey. Her posture had changed. She sat straight, shoulders relaxed, hands folded in her lap like she was in church. Every so often, she'd smile wide, eyes shining. It didn't look like her. It looked like someone wearing her expression. "Kels," I whispered. She didn't turn. "Kelsey," I tried again louder. She turned slowly, smiling. "Isn't it incredible?" Her voice was too soft, too calm. "You okay?" "Of course," she said. Her eyes drifted back to the ring as if my question had already faded. My stomach churned. The animal act started after the intermission. There was a brief break when the lights came up slightly and the people moved around. But even then, it was strange. No one checked their phones. No one complained about the lines. They drifted like sleepwalkers, moving towards concession stands, buying whatever was offered without looking at prices. I tried to get Kelsey to leave. "Let's go," I said. "I'm not feeling it." She blinked at me, still smiling. "We just got here. It's been like an hour." She laughed, a little too light. "You always do this. You always want to leave early." "That's not..." I started, but my words felt thick, like the air in the tent was swallowing them. I stood up. The aisle was crowded with people shifting back to their seats, but no one was talking. The silence and motion was unsettling, like a school evacuation drill where everyone knows how to do without being told. I touched Kelsey's arms. "Come on." Her skin felt warm. Too warm, like she was running a fever. She looked at my hand, then at my face, and something in her expression tightened. The smile slipped for a second. "You don't want to miss the miracle," she said. "The what?" "The miracle," she repeated, and the smile returned. "They promised." My pulse hammered. I let go of her arm and sat down because what else could I do? Drag her, make a scene, call security, and a circus tent? The lights dimmed again. The ringmaster returned. The drum beat came back, deeper, now slower. "Now," he said, "you will meet the guardians." The first animal was a bear. Not a cartoon bear on a tricycle, a real bear. Massive. Its fur caught the spotlight like dark oil. A handler led it into the ring with a chain and a stick, but the bear moved like it didn't care about either. It lumbered with a heaviness that made the ground feel smaller. The crowd didn't react with fear. They leaned forward, eager. The ringmaster spoke softly. "Do we feel it? The power? The hunger?" I looked around. People nodded. Some whispered yes, like a response. The bear stood on its hind legs. It raised its paws. It roared. The sound hit my bones. It wasn't like a zoo roar from behind glass. It was raw, close, full of saliva and breath and rage. Somewhere in the crowd, a child laughed. That's when I realized how wrong this was. The show moved through animals. A tiger, pacing with muscles rolling under its coat. Wolves that moved in a tight, coordinated group. A large cat that I couldn't identify at first because it was darker, sleeker, its eyes reflecting green. Between each act, the ringmaster spoke. He didn't talk about the training or conservation. He talked about surrender. He talked about letting the old world fall away. "Tonight," he said, "you will be chosen." The crowd clapped. I felt cold sweat on my back. I leaned close to Kelsey, whispering into her ear, "We need to go. This is weird." She didn't look at me. Her gaze was locked on the ring, eyes wide, smiling like she was watching fireworks. Then her fingers twitched, like she was about to clap before anyone else did. The ringmaster raised his hands again. The lights shifted. The animals were led through a curtain on the far side of the ring. Then the ringmaster pointed into the crowd. "You," he said. A spotlight snapped onto a man at the front row. He looked like a dad. Khaki jacket, tired eyes, the beanie on his lap. He blinked into the sudden light. The ringmaster smiled. "Stand." The man stood. He didn't look confused. He looked honored. The crowd clapped softly as if this was a gift. Another spotlight. "You." A woman 2 rows down. She stood, smiling. Then another. Another. People stood like dominoes, each one calm, compliant, pleased. My stomach flipped. I grabbed Kelsey's hands hard. "Don't stand," I hissed. She turned to me, smile fading into something blank. "Why not?" "Just don't." She looked back towards the ring. Her body shifted like she wanted to rise, then she hesitated, as if my grip anchored her. The ringmaster walked around the ring slowly, pointing. You, You. Each chosen person stood, maybe 10 of them total, and the ringmaster gestured towards an opening in the barrier. A low fence around the ring had a gate I hadn't noticed before. Come, he said, and the chosen people climbed down into the ring. My skin crawled. People were clapping like this was part of the entertainment, like they were about to see some stunt where the volunteers would be safe, and nothing about it felt safe. The chosen people stood at the center of the ring in a loose circle. They faced the ringmaster like he was officiating something. The drum beat shifted. It became slower, heavier. The lights around the edges of the tent dimmed further until the crowd was mostly shadow, faces lit only by the ring's bright center. The ringmaster spoke quietly, and somehow it was louder than the drums. You paid, he said. You came. You opened yourselves to wonder. Now receive. A performer approached each chosen person and handed them something. At first I thought it was a prop. Then I realized it was a thin cord necklace with the same symbol as the ticket printed on the small wooden disc. The volunteers put them on like it meant something. The ringmaster smiled wider. Good. I looked at my own ticket in my lap. Same symbol. A cold, sinking realization hit me. The ticket wasn't just admission. It was a mark. The ringmaster raised his hands. Close your eyes. The volunteers closed their eyes. Breathe, he said. They inhaled. Listen, he whispered, and the crowd, as if pulled by a string, went silent. I could hear the canvas of the tent creak slightly. I could hear the faint shuffle of feet. I could hear Kelsey's breath, slow and steady. Then from the far curtain came a sound, a low growl. A gate on the opposite side of the ring opened, and the tiger stepped in. No handler this time. No chain. It moved like smoke, slow, controlled, eyes bright and locked on the circle of people. The crowd didn't scream. They didn't gasp. They leaned forward, enthralled. The volunteers still had their eyes closed, still smiling faintly, still breathing like they were being lulled. The tiger padded closer. I stood up so fast my chair scraped. The sound was loud in the hush. A few heads turned towards me, irritated, like I'd interrupted a prayer. What the hell, I said, but my voice came out too thin, swallowed by the drums that had started again. Softer now. The tiger circled the volunteers. One of the volunteers, an older man, opened his eyes briefly and looked at the tiger, expression serene, almost dreamy. Then he closed his eyes again. The tiger stopped behind a young woman. It lowered its head and sniffed her neck. She didn't move. I felt like I was watching a video I couldn't pause. The ringmaster whispered something I couldn't catch. The volunteers swayed slightly like they were in a trance. The tiger's muscles tensed. It struck. It happened so fast my brain couldn't process it at first. A blur of fur and power. The young woman went down with a wet sound. A choked gasp that turned into nothing. The crowd clapped. Not screamed, clapped. My entire body went cold. I grabbed Kelsey's arm and yanked. We're leaving. Now. She resisted, surprisingly strong. Her eyes were fixed on the ring, face glowing with calm fascination. Kelsey, I snapped. She blinked slowly at me as if awaking. It's beautiful, she whispered. Another animal entered. Wolves, 3 of them, then 5, then more. They flowed into the ring like a wave. The volunteers didn't run. They didn't even step back. They stood in that circle, eyes closed as if they'd been told not to move, and their bodies believed it. The wolves lunged. Screams finally broke through. The real kind, human, tearing. Someone in the ring tried to run, stumbled in sawdust and went down. The wolves were on them instantly. Blood sprayed dark against the pale sawdust. The crowd cheered. Not everyone. Some people gasped. Some laughed nervously like they thought it was fake. But too many were cheering, clapping, chanting something under their breaths that sounded like a prayer. I tried to push past the people in my row. They didn't move. They sat like statues, eyes glossy, mouths open. Excuse me, I said, louder. Move. A woman turned towards me with a smile. Sit, she whispered. Their eyes looked wrong, not dead, empty, like the person inside was asleep. I shoved past her anyway. My knee banged onto the chair in front. Someone grabbed my sleeve and fingers cold. Don't, a man hissed, voice calm, almost too kind. You'll miss it. I ripped my arm free and stumbled into the aisle. The scene in the ring was chaos now. Wolves darting, people screaming, falling. The tiger was pacing, choosing. The ringmaster standing near the center like a conductor, arms raised, face shining with joy. And the crowd, half of them looked like they were watching a magic trick, like they couldn't understand what they were seeing. Their brains were refusing the reality. The other half looked like they had waited their whole lives for this. I made it to the back of the tent where the entrance tunnel was. Two ushers stood there blocking it. Long coats, calm faces, the same perfect smile. Leaving so soon, one asked. I need to get out, I said, voice shaking. People are. He tilted his heads. They're receiving. I tried to push past him. He stepped sideways smoothly, blocking me without touching. Please, I said. I hated myself for how small it sounded. My friend is in there. You brought her, the other usher said gently, as if that settled it. She paid. I'm calling the police, I said, and fumbled for my phone. No service. Of course there wasn't. The ushers watched me like you did a child throw a tantrum. Go back to your seat, the first one said. It will be easier. Something in his tone made my stomach lurch. Not a threat exactly, a promise. I looked around wildly. The canvas walls were thick. The exits were controlled. The crowd was packed. Even if I got out of the tent, I didn't know exactly where I was. A muddy field, a forest line, parked cars. I darted towards the side of the tent, away from the entrance, towards what looked like a service flap, canvas overlapping canvas. Behind me, the usher's voice followed like a lullaby. Don't be afraid, don't fight. It will be easier. I found the flap and shoved my fingers into the seam, trying to pry it apart. The canvas was tied with rope, knots tight, practice. My hands shook so hard I couldn't untie them. I clawed at the rope like an animal, nails tearing. Behind me, footsteps approached, slow, unhurried. I yanked harder, finally loosening one knot enough to slip it free. The canvas gap widened and cold air punched through. I squeezed my body through the opening like I was being born into winter. My shoulders scraped. The canvas snapped against my back. I fell into mud. Outside, it was darker than I expected. The lights from the tent bled out into thin stripes, but behind that was a field and trees and trailers. I could still hear the drum beat through the canvas, the muffled roar of the crowd, the distant screams. I got up and ran. Not towards the parking lot. I didn't even know where I was. I ran towards the trailers because they were something solid, somewhere to hide, somewhere to find a phone with service, maybe a landline, maybe anything. The trailers were arranged in rows like small village. Some had lights on inside, some were dark. The air smelled like diesel and hay and animal waste. I ran between them, slipping in mud, heart punching my ribs. I heard footsteps behind me and whipped around. No one. Just darkness and the tent pulsing with light like a living thing. I slowed, crouching behind a trailer, trying to control my breathing. My lungs burned. My hands were numb. I listened. The drums continued, steady as if nothing was happening, as if the killing was part of the rhythm. Then I heard something else. A door opening. Soft footsteps in mud. Voices, low, calm, murmuring. I pressed myself tighter against the trailer's cold metal, barely breathing. Two people walked past, carrying something between them. At first I thought it was a bag. Then the light from a nearby bulb hit it and I saw hair. A person. They were carrying a limp body like it was a sack of grain. Blood dripped from one end, dark and steady, making little black craters in the mud. The two carriers wore long coats like ushers. Their faces were calm, not hurried, like this was a normal part of their shift. They passed so close I could smell them, the same sweet herbal scent, like the drink. One of them turned his head slightly, as if he sensed something. I froze so hard it hurt, but he kept walking. They disappeared behind a large trailer near the back, one with a small set of stairs and a door that looked newer than the others. Above the door was a light. Beneath it, nailed to the trailer wall, was a wooden plaque with that symbol on it. A circle, the 3 lines. I swallowed bile. The first instinct was to run to my car, get out, leave Kelsey, and save myself. Then I pictured her face, smiling, glassy-eyed, sitting there while people died in front of her like it was a show. If I left her, she would never leave. Maybe she'd be chosen next, or maybe she'd cheer. I didn't know which was worse. I waited until the footsteps and voices faded, and then I creeped out from behind the trailer, staying low, moving into the shadows. The ground was uneven, scattered with equipment, coils of rope, crates, and old cages. I found a path between 2 rows of trailers and followed it towards the back, where I could see the faint outline of a fence. I figured there had to be an animal enclosure, somewhere where they kept the animals before the show. If I could find a worker, someone normal, someone not part of this, maybe they could help. Maybe there was a gate I could open. It was a way to cause chaos or distract them long enough to get people out. That thought, get people out, felt ridiculous. But I was in a movie and one person saves everyone. But it was the only thing my brain could cling to besides panic. The fence came into view. Tall chain link with tarps hung along it to block sight. Behind it, I heard movement. Heavy breathing, low growls, the musky smell of animals. I walked along the fence until I found a gate. It was locked with a padlock. I rattled it gently. Useless. Then I saw a smaller door behind it, like a service entrance. It wasn't locked. It had a simple latch. My hand hovered over it. As I opened it, I could be letting out wolves or tigers into a field full of cars and families. But families were already dying inside the tent. Families were cheering. My fingers closed around the latch. Before I could lift, the voice behind me said, "You're not supposed to be here." I spun. A man stood a few feet away. He was older, just maybe late of his 50s, wearing a dark hoodie and jeans, more like a regular worker than the coat people. His face was lined, tired. His eyes were sharp in the dark. He didn't look hypnotized. Relief hit me so hard my knees almost buckled. "Help me," I whispered. "Something's happening in there. They're killing people there." He held up a hand. "I know." My relief drained into confusion. "You know?" He glanced towards the tent. The drumbeat thumped through the air like a heartbeat. "I've known for a long time." "Then why," my voice creaked, "why are you here?" He stepped closer and I saw his hands. They were stained dark, not with grease but with dried blood. "I take care of cages," he said. "I clean, I feed, I keep them healthy." His voice was flat, almost resigned. "You're part of it," I said, backing away. His eyes tightened. "I'm trapped in it." I shook my head. "No, you can leave and you can call the police." He gave a humorless laugh. "Police won't come, not the way you think. They've come before. Some even bought tickets." My stomach dropped. He looked at me like he was studying a new animal. "Did you drink?" "No," I said quickly. His gaze flickered to my hands. "Do you still have your ticket?" My hand automatically went to my pocket. The cardstock was there, warm like it had been against my skin too long. He exhaled slowly. "That's why you can see it." "What?" He nodded towards the tent. "Most people, they don't see what's really happening, not fully. They see stunts, they see theater, their minds fill in what they need to make it make sense. The drink helps, the drum helps, the words help. It's hypnosis," I whispered. He shrugged. "Call it what you want." In the distance, a scream rose above the drums, high and desperate, then cut off abruptly. My whole body flinched. "My friend is in there." He looked towards the tent again, eyes hard. "If she drank, she's already halfway gone." I felt tears stinging my eyes, not from the emotion exactly, but from the shock of it all. "Help me get her out." His jaw clenched like he was fighting something. "They won't let you. They'll stop you." "Then what do?" I demanded, voice louder than I meant. My fear was turning into something sharp. He stepped closer until his face was inches from mine. I could smell animals and old smoke on him. "You leave," he said quietly. "Right now. You run to your car and you go and you don't come back." "I can't," I said, "not without her." He stared at me for a long second. Then his gaze shifted to the ticket in my pocket, as if he could see it through the fabric. "They marked you," he said softly. "You know that, right?" "What does that mean?" He didn't answer me directly. "They want witnesses. They need them." My stomach churned. "For what?" He glanced towards the animal gate behind me. "For Faith." Before I could respond, a shout cut through the dark. "Hey." A flashlight beam swept over my face, then over us. It landed on my face like a spotlight. The older man's expression changed instantly, tight, resigned. "Run," he hissed. I froze. The beam behind me blinded me. Footsteps approached fast now, heavier than before. The older man stepped away from me, raising his hand slightly as if he was surrendering. A figure in a long coat emerged from the darkness, flashlight in one hand, something else in the other, metal glinting. "You," the figure said, voice calm, not angry, almost amused. "You wandered." My mind snapped into motion. I turned and ran. Mud sucked at my shoes. My breath tore. I didn't know where I was going. Just away from the light, just away from the coat. Behind me, the voice called, "Stop. It will be easier." I heard the older man saying something now, lower, pleading. Then a sharp, sound like a baton hitting flesh. I didn't look back. I sprinted between trailers, stumbling, catching myself, lungs on fire. I could hear pursuit now. Two sets of footsteps, then three. Their pace wasn't frantic. It was steady, confident, like they knew I couldn't get far. Ahead, the tent loomed, bright and enormous. The main entrance was guarded. I couldn't go that way. Back near the back of the tent, I saw a smaller flap, like a performer entrance. Canvas hanging loose, shadows moving behind it. I bolted towards it and shoved through. Inside, the air hit me like heat and the smell and the sound. And the drums were louder here. The crowd's chanting became distinct. They weren't just cheering, they were repeating something in rhythmic. Open, open, open. I pushed through a narrow corridor behind the seating. This was backstage. Equipment costumes hanging, cages covered with tarps, and there under bare bulb I saw a row of people standing underneath, shoulder to shoulder. Not performers, they were ticket holders, regular people, faces blank, some crying silently, some smiling, all of them wearing those wooden disc on cords around their neck. They stood like cattle waiting for a gate to open. A woman in a long coat walked among them, touching each person's cheek gently, like a mother soothing children. Breathe, she whispered to them. Surrender. My skin crawled. I moved along the wall, trying to stay in the shadow, trying to find a way back to the seats where Kelsey was. Then I heard it. Her laughed, soft, dreamy, like she was watching something delightful. I peeked around the curtain and saw the ring from a new angle. The sawdust was darker now, trampled, stained. The animals moved in and out throughout the gates. And in the crowd, still seated, still mesmerized, Kelsey sat exactly where I left her. Her hands clapped slowly in time with the chant. I pushed forward, weaving between the seats until I reached our row. People didn't move. Their bodies were rigid, eyes locked onto the ring. Kelsey, I whispered urgently. She didn't turn. Kelsey, I grabbed her wrist. Her skin was hot, fever hot. She turned to me slowly, smiling. You're back. We have to go, I said. Now. She looked past me to the ring. It's almost time. What are you talking about? Her smile widened. We might get chosen. My stomach dropped. No, we're leaving. I tried to pull her up. Her body resisted like she weighed twice as much. Her finger tightened around the edge of the bench. Kelsey, I pleaded, look at me. She looked at me. For a second, just a second, her eyes sharpened like she recognized me. Then the ringmaster's voice swept over the tent. Now, he said, and the whole crowd fell silent. The final offering. Offering? The word made my blood run cold. Spotlights snapped onto the crowd again. The ringmaster pointed. You, he said. A man pointed. You, a woman stood. You. And then his finger pointed directly at our section. My stomach seized. The spotlight slammed into Kelsey like it had been waiting. She stood immediately, smiling like she'd won. No, I hissed, pulling down her arm. Sit down. She didn't. It was like my grip didn't matter. Like her muscles were moving on command. The ringmaster smiled warmly at her. Yes, he said, his voice soft and intimate. Come. Kelsey stepped into the aisle. I stumbled after her, grabbing her waist, trying to hold her back. People around us turned their heads slowly, eyes glossy, expressions blank. A man in the row behind reached out and caught my shoulder. His grip was iron. Let her go, he whispered. I tried to yank away. Another hand grabbed my other arm, and then another. People weren't standing up. They were reaching from their seats like roots, holding me into place. My heart pounded so hard I thought I'd pass out. Kelsey, I shouted. She didn't look back. She walked towards the ring with other chosen people and stood steady and calm. I fought the hand gripping me. My muscles strained. I managed to rip one arm free and stumbled forward a step. Then a voice right in my ear, soft as breath. You didn't drink. I turned. The ringmaster was there, right beside the aisle, impossibly close. His smile was perfect. His eyes were dark and bright at the same time. He looked at me like I was interesting, like I was rare. You see, he murmured, you feel. I froze. My body stopped fighting, not because I wanted to, but because fear turned me into stone. He leaned closer. The scent of clothes and something metallic filled my nose. Witness, he whispered. Then he lifted his hand, palm down, and the crowd's hands released me in the same instant, as if he controlled them. I stumbled back, nearly falling. The ringmaster turned away as if I no longer existed, attention returning to the chosen circle forming in the ring. I tried to run down after Kelsey again, but two ushers in long coats stepped into the aisle, blocking me. Their faces were calm, almost sympathetic. "It will be easier," one said. I looked in towards the ring. Kelsey stood among the chosen, eyes closed now, smile faint, necklace disc resting against her throat. The ringmaster spoke softly. "Close your eyes," he said, and they did. "Breathe," and they exhaled. "Listen," and their bodies relaxed. The drum beat slowed. The gate opened, and now came the tiger this time. Not the tiger this time, something bigger. A roar rolled that made the tent vibrate, and people in the crowd leaned forward like worshippers. From the distance behind the curtain stepped a lion, massive, mane thick, eyes bright as coins. It moved slowly, confidently, like it owned the ring, and behind it, another and another. 3 lions, not handlers. The ringmaster spread his arms, face shining. "Do you understand now?" he called to the crowd. "This is the oldest truth. We are meat. We are breath. We are fear. And fear is a door." The crowd murmured. "Open," they whispered. "Open." The lions stalked towards the chosen circle. Kelsey stood still. My vision tunneled. My body felt both numb and electrified. I screamed her name until my throat tore. Kelsey's eyes fluttered open for a fraction of a second. She looked at me. And for that second, I saw her, real her beneath the trance, confusion, fear, recognition. Her mouth opened as if she was about to speak, and then the lion lunged. It hit her like a car. She went down hard, sawdust exploding. Her scream was cut off immediately, swallowed like by the animal's jaws and the crowd's roar. I made a sound I didn't recognize. Something broke loose inside me. I tried to rush forward, but the ushers held their ground, arms out, not touching me, but making it clear I would be stopped. And the worst part, worse than blood, worse than the screams, was the crowd. They clapped, they cheered, they chanted open like it was a hymn. I backed away, shaking, tears streaming, hands over my mouth, trying to keep from vomiting. I stumbled through the aisle, pushing past the still bodies and the still faces. I didn't know where to go. The exits were guarded. The tent felt like a trap. Then I remembered the service flap I'd torn earlier. I ran towards the side of the tent, towards that seam of canvas. My fingers found it, and I shoved through the grass again, scraping my shoulder raw. Outside, cold hair hit my face. The night felt unreal, like walking from a nightmare to another dream. I ran, harder than I'd ever run in my life, towards the parking lot. I could see headlights. Cars lined in rows. Families had driven here. People had parked like this, like it was any other normal night. I found my car by pure instinct. My hands fumbled my keys and I got in, locked the doors and slammed the ignition. As my headlights swept across the field, I saw them, people walking, not running, not panic, walking calmly from the tent towards the cars, smiling, laughing softly, like the show ended and they were satisfied. Some had blood on them, not their own, splattered on coats, on hands, on faces, but they didn't look injured, they looked blessed. They moved past my car without looking at me. Then in my rearview mirror, I saw the ringmaster step out of the tent. He stood under the floodlights like he was on stage, black suit perfect, smile in place. He looked directly at my car, directly at me. Even though glass and distance, I felt seen, tagged, calm, and claimed. He lifted one hand and pressed his palm down slowly. I swear to God, every person that field stopped moving at once, like puppets paused. My breath caught. My hands clenched at the steering wheel until my knuckles burned. Then slowly, they all turned their heads towards me. All of them. Dozens of faces, blank and smiling, looking at my car. I threw the car into reverse, tires spinning in mud, and swung around hard. I nearly hit a minivan. I didn't care. I floored it, bouncing over ruts, barely staying on the makeshift path out. As I drove, I kept glancing in the mirror. At first, the field was just lights and the dust and the tent shrinking behind me. Then on the road in my headlights, I saw someone standing on the path. I slammed the brakes. The car skidded. It was an usher in a long coat, calm, smiling. He lifted a hand, palm up, like he was offering something. My ticket. It was in his other hand. My stomach dropped. I hadn't even realized it was missing. He held it up, the symbol gleaming in the headlights, and then let it fall to the ground. And behind him, the darkness shifted with movement, people stepping out from the field slow and steady, walking towards my car. I hit the gas again and swerved around the usher, barely missing him. The car jolted onto the road, and I sped away so fast I could feel the suspension scream. I didn't stop until I hit the highway. I didn't call anyone until I was in a brightly lit gas station 20 miles away, shaking so hard I couldn't dial. When I finally got through to 911, my voice sounded like a stranger's. "There's something," I said. At a circus, they were getting killed, and animals. The operator asked me to repeat myself, asked for an address, asked if I was injured. I tried to explain, but the words came out tangled, unbelievable even to me. When the police finally arrived, local deputies first, then state, they took my statement with that careful, polite skepticism that tells you they've already decided you're confused. They asked if I'd been drinking, if I'd anything, if I was on medication. They asked about my friend, her name, and what she looked like. I told them, I showed them photos, and I begged. They sent units to the location. Hours later, one of the deputies called back. "No circus," he said. "What? No tents, no trailers, fields empty." My stomach dropped through the floor. "That's not possible," I whispered. "I was just there." He was quiet for a second. "We found tire tracks, a lot of them, but no vehicles, no structures, no nothing." I told him about the blood, the screams, the animals. He sighed that he'd heard this kind of story before. "We'll keep looking," he said gently. I could hear the unspoken, but there's nothing to find. I hung up and sat on the curb outside the gas station, shaking, staring at my hands like they belonged to someone else. My fingers still smelled faintly of sawdust and cloves. I went home at dawn, showered until my skin hurt, changed my sheets, and threw away my clothes, and still couldn't get the smell out of my nose. Kelsey was reported missing. Her family posted online. They printed flyers. They called hospitals. They called me, and I didn't know what to say. What do you tell someone? Your daughter was eaten alive in a circus tent by lions while people cheered? So they would have thought I was insane. So I said she disappeared. I said we got separated like I ran. And I said I tried. It wasn't enough. Weeks passed, then months. Nothing. No bodies, no circus, no animals, no witnesses, because everyone else who had been there didn't remember the truth or remembered a version that didn't sound like a member. I started searching online obsessively. Every traveling circus listed, every pop-up tent, every county fair schedule. I looked for Miracle Menagerie. Nothing. No websites, no reviews, no social media. Like it had never existed. However, except once at night, I found a single forum posted on a single thread. Someone wrote, "Did anyone else go to Miracle Menagerie and can't stop dreaming about drums?" No replies. The account was deleted. I stared at that line for a long time. My stomach twisted. My dreams started soon after. At first, they were just flashes. This spotlight, a smile, the sound of drums under everything, like a heartbeat. I'd wake up sweating, heart racing, convinced I could hear chanting outside my bedroom. Then the dreams changed. In the dreams, I went back in the tent, but I was in the crowd this time, smiling, clapping, chanting, open with everyone else. I would look down at my hands and see blood on them, and it would feel normal, good even. In the dream, I would turn and see Kelsey in the rings, eyes closed, serene, and wouldn't be afraid. I would feel proud, like she was being honored. Then I'd wake up and vomit. I stopped sleeping. I started leaving the lights on. I started jumping at every sound. I started checking locks twice, 3 times. And then one night, almost a year after it happened, I was coming home from work late. Winter again, the air sharp, the streets quiet. I pulled into my apartment and parked under a flickering light. As I got out the car, I heard it. A drum beat. A soft, distant, unmistakable. Boom, boom, boom. My stomach went cold. I stood in the dark listening. The sound wasn't coming from a neighbor's TV. It wasn't a car stereo. It was coming from somewhere deeper, something that made the air feel sick. I turned slowly, scanning the lot at the edge near the trees that lined up property. There was something hanging from a branch, a strip of cloth, red and white, circus canvas. It guttered gently in the wind. My throat closed, my chest tightened. I walked towards it without meaning to, like my body had been tugged to. Each step felt heavy, the breath fogged in front of me. The cloth wasn't just cloth, it was tied in a knot around the branch, like a marker, like a ribbon on a trail. And then hanging from it by a thin cord was a wooden disc. The same symbol, the circus with 3 lines. My hand shook so hard I could barely touch it. It was lifted and it was warm like it had been against skin. Behind me in the dark lot, I heard footsteps. Slow, unhurried. A voice, soft as breath, said, "You didn't finish your ticket." I didn't turn around. I ran. I ran up the steps into my apartment, slammed the door, locked it, shoved furniture against it like that would help. I ran on the floor and I sat on the floor in the dark, shaking and listening. Outside my door for a long time, there was silence. Then faintly, like someone humming from the other side of the wall, I heard it. I heard it. Open, open, open. I didn't know what they did to people who bought those tickets. I didn't know if it's drugs or hypnosis or something older, something built into rhythm and the words and the human weakness. I don't know if the animals were trained to kill, or if they were just hungry, unleashed at the right moment. What I do know is this: they don't just want bodies; they want belief. They want witnesses who can't look away. They want people like me, people who didn't drink, who saw the truth, who ran. Because fear makes the deposit the deepest kind of devotion. Fear is the hook you swallow without realizing it. And once you've seen behind the curtain, once you've heard the drums in your bones, you don't get back that same feeling of being normal. You carry the rhythm with you. You start to hear it in the distance. You'll start to feel your mind drift when you hear certain music, certain cadences. You start to understand how easy it is for a crowd to become one creature, and how quickly one creature can become very angry. I still don't go to fairs. I don't go to carnivals. I don't go anywhere where there's tents. And every time I see a flyer on a pole, some bright little promise of wonder, some smiling face painted on paper, I tear it down without thinking, because I'm terrified one day I'll see those words again. 1 week only, a night you'll never forget. And I realized the circus didn't disappear. It just moved, and it's still selling tickets. And if you pay, if you go, if you let the drums into your chest, you'll clap, you'll smile, and you'll open. Okay. That wraps up tonight's story for now. And we're going to close it out. And yeah, that wraps up tonight's story. And that's where we'll stop for tonight. If this story stayed with you, if it followed you a little too closely after it ended, then it did exactly what it's meant to do. If you enjoyed listening, take a moment to like and subscribe and hit that notifications button. New stories are waiting, some already written, some still finding their way out of the dark. Write a comment if you want to share your thoughts, or if you've experienced something you still can't explain. Until next time, keep the lights low, keep the doors locked, and try to get some sleep. Good night.